What's up, guys? Coach Thomas here. I wanted to introduce you to a product that I developed just for myself, honestly. I'm a high school strength coach. I coach indoor track. I've been in strength conditioning for over 20 years now at this point, and I also like to develop equipment. Some people might know me from a product called the Freebell, which is something I developed. It's a very dynamic free weight that I saw a need for a little bit more feedback, a little bit more athletic coordination that would be developed through a free weight for my athletes, and then also something for the general population that I train. What I'm going to show you today is another product that came out of necessity. It is a product that I call the Speed Deck. It's not something that I'm currently selling or anything. It's just something that I built for myself, for my athletes, and I wanted to share a little bit about it today, and possibly it's a design that could help people out with their training or give them a different avenue to get some of the different training in that is a little more difficult or honestly a little bit more expensive if you seek out some of the other products that are on the market right now. So let's check out the Speed Deck. All right, guys, so this is the Speed Deck. So this is a platform that I developed. Like I said, it was out of necessity. I weld and fabricate and like to design equipment primarily for what I need and to fill some gaps. Sometimes it has to do with the space I have. Sometimes it has to do with just the equipment that I have available to me, and more often than not, it comes from price point. Some things are just a little bit out of reach as far as price point, and I still want to give my athletes and my clients the best training possible, and some of that comes along with develop some things to fit what you do. So I've always been a fan of belt squatting. I like the fact that you can load from the hips to really take some load off the spine, gets athletes in a really good position. It's also really safe. And I've always, for years and years, have wondered why somebody didn't develop a platform that was lengthwise long enough to do single leg exercises. I wanted something, for one, that I could just do like single leg movements, have the handles so they're adjustable for different sizes of people, and just be in like a really good position where somebody has like plenty of room, no matter what size athlete I'm training, to get in here and be able to do our single leg motions, be able to do dynamic work. I just always wanted a platform that was big enough to be able to do that. So that was first thing, was building something long enough and wide enough that could handle everyone that I train. The second piece really starts off with two individuals, two coaches that I really respect and follow closely, and that is Cal Dietz and Chris Korfist. Cal developed a system called the triphasic system, and he wrote a book, the original one with Chris, and then they had a triphasic football. And of course I read all those manuals, and I really liked the idea, the packaging that they had of when to do the eccentric work and the iso work and concentric work. And it always has worked really well for my athletes and pairs really well with kind of my philosophies and how I like to run a program. But I think one of the issues that I had, and I think a lot of people have this issue, is, for one, the eccentric loading. I'm a high school strength coach. I also coach indoor track. There's times where I could have 60 to 70 athletes in a room, male and female, variety, freshmen to seniors, 100-pound kid to 250-pound kid, and varying the weights for one, and then loading them for eccentrics in the type of percentages that they talk about in that book, anywhere from 100 to 125%. I just never found a really good way to be able to do that with my athletes that I felt was safe, that also flowed with the time that we had. We have a little bit over an hour, and if you figure like the weight changes and everything that goes along with loading that type of weight, it just never worked. So I still ran a lot of triphasic programs, a lot of triphasic systems within different blocks throughout the year. And I did lots of different things. I just kept the weight lighter. Sometimes I would do an eccentric into an iso to keep it lighter, but still keep it difficult to work. Some of those pieces, like if I didn't have enough time to run an iso, I could just run like a 6-second into a 4-second pause or something like that. But I always wanted to be able to like really have like a good eccentric, good overcoming iso phase, and I just was never able to do it. Safety was always an issue. I think if you're in a position like Cal is at University of Michigan or Minnesota, where you have people helping, interns, managers, partners, 20 racks, whatever. I think I have 8 at the high school right now. You can load the safety squat bars, you can have spotters, you can have safety, you could have it all set up and roll through and do it just fine. That just was never the case for me, and it probably was never going to be the case for me. So I wanted something that I could do those heavy isos in a really safe manner. And that's when a product came out from Beyond Power, Voltra. And there's other ones that can do this. I think there's like the 1080 cable that can also do this. And they developed a resistance device, and it gives you the ability to overload the eccentric. And as soon as I saw that, I just kind of put it together. I was like, I want this platform. I want it big enough so I can do all of my plyo stuff on it, so I can do all my single leg unilateral stuff, whatever, but I also wanted to be able to do these heavy eccentric loads. So then I developed it, and I put the Voltra on here, and it worked awesome. You can do up to 200 pounds extra, or 200 pounds on the eccentric, which isn't super heavy. You can also double this over. But I started to do that to where I could have an athlete on here. I could overload their eccentric. I could also keep track of peak power, velocity. I don't need a VBT device or anything hooked onto them. So I get all the data that I was looking for. I could switch weights really quickly, right? One athlete to another, boom, boom, boom. Don't have to worry about stacking plates or anything like that. And it just worked perfect. And that's kind of where the Speed Deck overall came from. And after that, and also you can run, I'm running the Voltra on this. Like I said, you could run the cable or something like that. But you could also run 2 of these. So you can run, I believe you can run 2 in a twin mode. So you could do these vertical. And that was one nice thing about having just a separate cable. For one, I didn't want to run the Voltra cable through here, but I also wanted the ability to hook 2 Voltras, run these. I believe you can run these in twin mode. I'm not for sure on that, but I think you can run them in twin mode, and then I can get double the resistance run like 400 pounds. And then if I wanted to double it over with a pulley, I don't think I'll ever need more than 800 pounds on an eccentric. But I only have one Vultra. Beyond Power, hit me up if you want to test this. You can send me another Vultra and we'll put it on this sucker. So that's kind of what I did. And I do everything on this. I do plyometric. I do all of our single leg. I do bilateral squatting. I love doing altitude drops. So this gave me the ability that I could jump off of a smaller box, but I could give them resistance and they could land on this platform. So instead of having to constantly stack boxes or whatever, like they can land on a box, or they can jump off of a short box, land on here, still get that impact that I'm looking for off of a higher box when I'm doing altitude drops and everything, and it worked out awesome. The other thing is I made this rear arm adjustable. So this has 5 different settings on the rear arm. So you can have this straight up. So then if I'm doing upper body pulling, pressing, rotational work, I can run the Vultra straight to my athlete. I can have it at this angle, which works perfect for doing the belt squat variations. I can have it completely level, and at that setting, I like to hook it to either the belt or a harness, and I can do directly to the waist of an athlete, and I actually can work first step horizontal forces. It's great because the athlete can have the handle, I can adjust the handle where I need to, and they can work first step. I can position them down, right? I can like really force shin angle, I can force ankle angle, I can have their finish to where I have that nice straight line between their torso and their rear leg as they extend, and we can work some really high quality reps on that. And then I can drop it down also for 2 other angles. So there's one down here, and then there's one directly down. I mentioned a guy named Chris Korfus. He has some like super awesome stuff. One movement that I love that he does on the 1080 Synchro is hooking that band or hooking to your ankle and working that hip flexion with that little bit of rotation in for the oblique that he's been talking so much about for sprinting, to get some power onto where those thighs actually switch, and I can still control that angle. I wanted to be able to do something like that. That was honestly the main reason why I made the rear arm adjustable. But truth be told, he does it off the Synchro, and I don't have $50,000 just hanging around. So, for a very small change that I made off of this and the Vultra, I can do almost everything that they can do off of that 1080 Synchro, which they probably hate that I'm even saying that. But, truth be told, not everybody has $50,000 just hanging around to be able to run that. Nothing bad about the 1080 Synchro. Everything 1080 makes is amazing, but the cost of entry is incredibly high. So I can do that. I might not be able to get the same data off the Vultra, but I can get quite a bit of data, and for the price gap, and then what I can do off this, also the ability to, instead of having like the Synchro or whatever, and then having to like position another piece of equipment in front of it for the athletes to hold on to and trying to figure all that out. I've dealt with things like that before. This is awesome because I can just position them. Like if I want the handles up here, I can raise them, lower them, forward, whatever, and then I can work those positions right away. There's enough gap here. I can either bring them back, I can bring them forward. They can pull all the way through the handle. Either way, there's just a ton of versatility. The next thing we're also doing is I'm creating a slide system for this handle. I'm gonna have a lever arm that comes back, and it's actually gonna have a connection so I can scoot the Vultra all the way to the side. I can run the cable here, and for one, we're able to do the same thing for step stuff. So instead of just going from the waist, I can actually go from here and then drive, and the handles will drive with me. So I can actually mount or have all the power come from the torso. So I'm actually pushing from the chest. It might be great to do some stuff like that for to help people control the torso when they're doing some of these movements. I'm a big fan of changing things from the outside and not the ground. I like everything to be from a firm surface, and then changing the variables as far as like push with the upper body. push or pull from the waist, pull from the torso, mid back, whatever. So that'll be great. We're also doing some stuff with USA Boxing, and I wanted the ability to be able to do some like really cool push-pull stuff from the Vultra off of these handles, and then be able to change these, have a longer length, and do all types of stuff like that. So that'll be coming soon. As soon as I get that developed, I'll post a video on the handle slides. I think that'll be super cool. So that's the Speed Deck. I'm not currently, if somebody was interested in, something like this, I'll talk to them, and if they want to get one off built or something, I can help lead the way on that. It's not something I'm currently selling, but I'm sure one of the big companies would, probably do what they do, take the design and give no credit. They're pretty good at that. And I think this is just one of those ideas that came out of necessity from people who coach. And I think that's one of the things that's missing, honestly, from the equipment industry is, I think a lot of people developing equipment or that own, fitness equipment, I don't think they train anybody, so they have no idea what actual people need. I think working out by yourself is, you're one of a million. If you start actually training athletes, I think that's when people start to discover ideas like this that would actually help coaches. And I think this is something that's a very valuable tool for us. This is going to be this one, and then maybe one more will be at currently it's in Wyoming, but it's going to be at our new spot in Bastrop, Texas at OP1 Speed. It'll be the only one of its kind for now, at least. And we're really excited to get a lot of those kids down in Texas working on the Speed Deck and utilize it for our strength and speed system. So check back. We'll go over the handles at a later date. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions or anything on it, hit me up through, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, whatever. We'll see you next time.